Here's a look at the market for Monday, March 23rd from the eMiniDayTrader perspective. When we left off on Friday, we had witnessed the market had a pretty good sell-off. This was Friday's profile. This was Thursday's, and of course today over here with the big up move. And so we had the market test the low that had been formed back here on the 18th when it rallied, or when it sold off on Friday. And so this is an area that we were looking for to see if the market could actually get any kind of follow through below that. The other area that we were looking at as likely resistance was in this area here, just below our upper value area. As you can see, on Friday we in essence had two value areas, one here and one here, and so usually in between them is an area that either acts as support or resistance. If the market's trading below it, it will act as resistance. And so you can see what ended up by happening overnight. The market opened here and had absolutely no movement lower at all, so there was nothing down here, but instead it rallied up through this possible area of resistance and then started to form a pretty good value area, even higher than the previous day's upper value area. So that was our first heads up that something had entered the market in the overnight, on the weekend, and that the bulls were back on board. And so when the market opened early today, it was not really a surprise that it found some follow through on that buying and continued to move higher. And so when we take a look here at the actual profiles just from day to day, not including the overnight session, you can see here that this was the surprise open up towards the high, actually overlapping, I think, the high that had formed on Friday. And we know that the overnight session and the previous day's session highs and lows tend to act as natural targets and can even become good support and resistance areas. Well, as you can see, very soon after the open, it had just a little bit of a dip and then immediately started to trade above yesterday's high. And it started to obviously build more and more acceptance up here, more and more value, obviously at a much higher level throughout the midday session. So all of this was a bullish development, and especially due to the fact too that our longer term resistance was around 795, and last week we had the big up day off of the FOMC news that did pierce through that 795 but closed below it. And then the next day it attempted to rally above, but then also came down. Then we had that little bit of follow through on Friday. And so when the market rallied up here today and not only showed good acceptance above yesterday, it also started to show acceptance above that 795 key support / resistance area. And so this kind of bullish structure just continued out and finished the day in a very, very strong mode. And so obviously looking for some kind of follow through tomorrow. Here's our 1 minute chart, and as you can see that the market obviously was dominated by buyers throughout the day. But we do expect some sort of pullback, and you can see here that our balance areas here will likely give us some areas of support in around 812, and then down here around 808, and then even down here on this balance area, which was our last place for us to get long today, 803.50, that's another area of support. So these are all areas of potential support should the market pull back a little bit. And quite often days like this it will pull back some, even if it's very, very bullish, it'll do that. The other thing too, that our volume today was pretty strong, but not as strong as the day exhibited, with the Dow being up almost 500 points. So do expect a little bit of a pullback in that regard. As far as our trades were concerned today, our very first trade actually occurred off of this first balance area right here, where we're able to get long at 787, so captured some of this up move, which was very nice. We didn't actually have a next trade until we had a deceleration bar here, and we did participate in some of this down move, although whenever we're taking a short trade on a day like today that has very strong buying, we like to be fairly nimble on those trades and not really hold them all that long. So that's what ended up by happening today. Um, we did have an opportunity here too. There was another deceleration bar here which was able to get us long, so we had a bit of we had a long trade just in that short up move. Did hit our first two objectives, but not a big winner. But we did get a very nice winner when the market pulled back down to our support right here, filled us, and that thing just moved up for us 6 points. So very nice trade in that, which was good to see. A surprising move though is the market came down here, and that actually gave us an opportunity to get short when the market bounced here. And that one also hit our first two objectives and beyond, moving 2 3/4 points in our favor. We had one more nimble short right in here we got stopped out on, although many of our traders would not have taken that, even though it did trigger as a system trade due to the upward bias in the market and the known support, especially from our green patch over here that had not yet been erased. But the market did turn around. We did have one more short trade that hit our first objective, and then we had one final trade to get long, as I was mentioning a moment ago, right in here. This particular trade was kind of a combination of two trades. Not all of our traders would have taken that trade because the actual setup for it missed it by just one tick. Other than that, it made obviously a great deal of market logic sense to get long at that price to get on board at least another part of the up move. So all in all, just a very nice day of trading, and it was good to see the market have a good bounce like that. Although almost a 7-point bounce today just on one day, and I didn't hear the exact number, but it's at least 20% off of the low. And so even in a bear market we can have these kinds of moves. So we're certainly not expecting that, that the all-time low, if you will, has been set. Wouldn't be at all surprised if this market pulls back even possibly into the mid 700s at some point, but for the time being looking for some support in those areas that I just mentioned. So love to hear from you if you've got any questions or comments. We're obviously at eMiniDayTrader.com. And you can email us at info@eMiniDayTrader.com and send us any questions or comments. So that'll be it for Monday, March 23rd, 2009.